right, good afternoon, Brutal Planet listeners. This is Joey here. Over the last several years, we've watched a young musician perform backing vocals on All That Remains cover of Garth Brooks' The Thunder Rolls, as well as Bad Wolves' #1 single, Hear Me Now. She's released her debut album, Coming In Hot, in 2018 and has toured extensively, sharing the stage with rock giants such as Breaking Benjamin, Shinedown, and Chevelle. Her new album, American Dream, releases this Friday, May 7th. And this afternoon, I guess morning to you, I have the privilege of interviewing none other than Diamante. So thank you for joining us here, Diamante. It's nice to see you.
You too. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say congratulations. I understand that you just graduated from college, University of Redlands.
Yeah, I did.
You want to tell us about that? That's a feat.
Yeah, man, it was 6 years in the making, so it took me a minute. I started in 2015, so I was 18, 19 at the time, and just graduated just now. It took me a while because I was going back and forth from school to then I'd book a tour, and I'd have to leave school, and then I'd come back, and that was my life for the last 3-4 years. And this last year, obviously with no touring whatsoever, I was able to just really go full time and go for it. And I was able to complete, which was crazy.
Yeah. And you got that in business administration, right?
Yeah, I did. I wasn't sure the first 2 years what I was going to do. I was actually leaning towards an English major just because I love reading and I love writing. Okay. And then I figured, there's so much you can apply with a business degree to your own business. And for me, being in the music business, it made a lot of sense.
So when did you make the decision to switch?
I would say 2 years ago. Okay. What I was doing is I would drive from LA to Redlands, which is it's not bad without traffic, but with traffic, it's brutal. Like two something hours. And I would do this twice a week for 2 years, drive back and forth and back and forth. And then I discovered that they had a business school here in Burbank. So I switched to that one. And that's when I decided, I'm doing business and this is what's going to happen.
Okay. And now, to my understanding, you left Better Noise Records early 2020. Did the business administration, the switch into that, kind of give you the courage to cut ties with Better Noise, or?
Well, to be honest, the separation with Better Noise wasn't really my decision. It was them calling me up when I was in the middle of the biggest tour of my life up until this point, and them saying, we're just not going to pick up the second album.
Okay.
So my brain immediately shifted into, okay, what's plan B? What do we do to keep moving forward? Okay. And I think going and getting that business degree, I did feel empowered because I had already done an album release and campaign with the record label. So I knew what the steps were to be taken. And then going to school and learning business, I was like, maybe I can just do this on my own and see what happens.
Yeah, I thought the two maybe went hand in hand, that you just had enough courage. I'm like, I'm getting my business degree. I'm going to do this independently and see what happens. But yeah, I hope I hope you can prove them wrong. But so what was it like working with Howard Benson again this time around versus last time?
So different in the best ways possible. I would say that with the first album, there were a lot of degrees of separation and a lot of levels that the songs had to go through. So I would show Howard the songs, and he would send to the A&R, and the A&R would send to the rest of the label and to the higher ups, and it went through all these levels. And I didn't have a whole lot of say on that first album. This time around, because all that was canceled out and it was just me, Howard, and Neil, the experience was so much more collaborative, and I really got to decide with Howard and Neil, which songs make the album, which songs need work, which ones aren't strong enough to make the album, what do I want it to sound like, what do I want to write about concept-wise. So it was so much more fun this time around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I bet. But so American Dream is the name of the album, and it's also your title track, the opening track. Can you tell us about that? Where did the name of the album come from, and the song, and how did you go about doing that?
Yeah, so it has a double meaning. American Dream was the last song I wrote for the album. And when I heard that song title, I was like, that's the album name. That totally encompasses everything, because I'm a daughter of Mexican mother and Italian father, and they came here to America. And had they not made that big decision, there's no way that I would be doing what I'm doing right now. So that's the American dream in itself. And then just knowing that this entire creating of the album and release is completely independent, there's also a huge freedom in that, and that's also the American dream.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I love how it really goes into your story with college and the business thing and
Yeah.
independent album and stuff. It really fits. And I think that just doing that speaks to your fans. Like, that says something. So well done working hard on that.
Thank you.
And yeah, I did notice, I loved your first album. I don't even remember how I discovered you a couple years ago, but I love the album. A lot of times I just listen to stuff on Spotify. I actually purchased your album. I really liked it. And
thank you.
and then now this second one, and this is nothing against your first one, but you really made some huge steps on this one, really matured, I think, and it shows. It sounds really good.
Thank you. Yeah, I think just the hundreds and hundreds of writing sessions, you can definitely hear the growth, and also just the life experience that I had in between the albums. It doesn't seem like a whole lot of time, 3 years, but I feel like when you're in your early 20s, 3 years is like 3 lifetimes.
Right.
You go through so much. So there was a lot of writing material for this album.
Yeah. Did you take a lot of time during the pandemic, like when you weren't doing school, to just focus on writing?
Yeah. And that wasn't the plan initially.
Right.
At first, the album was going to come out in 2020. This was, before the lockdown, before all that. And then everything got pushed back. So I said to myself, okay, I can't tour. I can't go play shows. What's the one thing I can do? And that's write. So I kept writing and writing and writing right here in this living room most of the time. And a lot of the songs that ended up being on the album were actually written during quarantine. So it's almost like a blessing in disguise in a way.
Yeah, I've talked to some other artists too, and they said, we kind of had things all written and ready to go. And then with the pandemic and the quarantine, they said we just kind of went over everything and rewrote things and focused more on it and stuff. And in a weird way, they were very thankful for that extra time to just really make something special. So it sounds like you had some time to do that too.
Yeah, I'm definitely an advocate for making the best out of any situation, no matter how terrible it is. And I think something that artists have had to do this last year is really get creative, because their resources are so limited and there's not a whole lot they can do. So like the live stream concerts and just the different kind of interactions they've created with fans, it's definitely had to spark new creativity this last year. Right.
Yeah. So your new album has 10 songs. You've already released 5 of them as singles. Is that again, I'm just going to pick your brain on this whole business administration thing. Is that a business decision, or was it just to keep promoting the upcoming album, or what's the reason to have already released 5 singles before the album comes out?
It was a little bit of both. The cool thing is that I didn't necessarily have, these 10 songs ready to go, and then I started choosing which ones were the best ones to start releasing. I was kind of releasing songs as they were being created. So at the time, like when I released Obvious, I didn't have an album. It was just a song. And then I wrote Serves You Right, and then I wrote Ghost Myself, and I was just like, let's just put it into the world. And I think the reason why I had that mentality was because when I was with the record label, I had zero say when songs came out, which songs came out, how long things were going to take, because they do take really long. It took 3 years from the time that I started writing Coming In Hot to the time it actually came out. So this time I was like, if I create a song and I really feel good about it, just release it, see what happens. And then, 5 songs in, I started realizing like, oh, I'm actually making an album right now.
Sure. Yeah.
So, even though a lot of it's already been out, it's because it was being released as it was being created.
Yeah. Did you feel pressure on your second album to really put out something different or similar? I know a lot of bands, like, they feel that pressure of, okay, it's our second album, our first one got attention, do we make it sound similar, or do we go in a different direction? Or did you feel any pressure that way?
It's funny because I've heard that a lot too, and Howard would always tell me during the making of Coming in Hot, he's like, oh, you think this is hard? Just wait until you have to start making your second album. That's the hard one.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there's this thing of like, it either catapults an artist's career forward, or they call it the sophomore slump. And so there is that built-in pressure. But for me, I was just so excited to be able to make the music that I wanted to make without any restrictions or rules or limitations, that my brain wasn't necessarily thinking that way. It was more like, what do you want to make? What didn't you get to do last time? And what are the boundaries you want to push this time? And I think that's why when you listen to the album, you hear all these different genres and influences, but it's totally me, 100%.
And that's what I think makes the best records, is when you're just free to express whatever you're feeling at that season that you're writing and stuff. When you're being told what to do, you know, that's really limiting creativity. Yeah. And I think it shows just that you had a little bit more freedom here, and I think it was definitely a step up from your last album, and I look forward to just seeing what you're going to keep doing in the future. This is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you.
So the Iris cover, I understand that was one of your favorite songs, and you got to do it with Ben from Breaking Benjamin. That was awesome. What a dream. And yeah, I think it turned out great. Is there any other cover songs that you think about doing in the future? And if what, who would you collaborate with, or would you do it alone? And
I mean, just because they're such legends, I would die if I collaborated with either Joan Jett or Stevie Nicks or Debbie Harry or Pat Benatar. Like, they are my people. I would kill to collab with them. And I think usually when I cover songs, I actually really enjoy covering male songs just because and I like the other way around too, like when a guy covers a female song.
Yep.
It brings this whole entirely new, different light to the song. So I like doing that. But if I had to do another one, though, I would love to do a Fleetwood Mac song.
Yeah.
And really make it like hard rock. I think that'd be so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that too, when bands do cover songs of, you know, something that's normally softer and they do a heavier version, or vice versa. And
yeah,
it's always fun hearing like how an artist takes a famous cover song or something and makes it their own, and just puts their own flair to it. And yeah. I loved your version of Iris, and it gets played in our house quite often. So
thank you. Yeah, it's intimidating, especially a song like Iris, when it's just so well respected, and you have to, as an artist, when you cover songs like this, find the balance between respecting the song but then also not completely recreating it note for note.
Right. No, I think you did good. And I don't think a lot of bands can pull off covers well. Disturbed is probably the band that does it the best. But yeah, I always get excited when I hear a good cover, because it's like you did honor to the original artist, but you made it your own and made it something different. So thank you for that cover. That's great.
Yeah, thank you.
You got time? Can I ask you about a couple more songs?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Unlovable. I like that one. Could you tell me lyrically, musically, anything about the song?
Yeah, so I was at the point in the album where I guess I was in a big mode of self-reflection, because I was pretty much in here, not able to really do anything or go out. So, you know, when I'm on tour and I'm playing shows every night and I'm adrenalized and I have this high, I'm not sitting there thinking about, you know, things that happened to me in the past or insecurities I have that I haven't really dealt with, or bad feelings. I'm pushing that all to the side. Mm-hmm. And when I'm sitting here at home, they all start coming up to the surface. And I think that's when Unlovable came about, because I wanted to write a song about this insecurity I've had for maybe a few years now, where I feel like maybe I'm too complicated, or I'm too difficult, I'm too hard to love, because so many people have made me felt like that I start believing it myself. And then on the flip side of that, it's like, well, if it hasn't worked out with all these people, maybe I'm the problem. Like, what's wrong with me? And I never talked about that, never put that into a song. And so for the first time, I wanted to do that. And that's the whole concept of Unlovable. And then Neil had the idea. He's like, why don't you have a ballad on the album that has no drums on it? So I thought this was the perfect song to do that because it's so vulnerable and I'm exposing myself kind of in a way. The song itself, it's super exposed because it's just me and a piano and violins, and that's it.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask you about it, because it seemed like you were really bearing yourself and just exposing yourself, like you said. And it's just interesting to hear you say all that, because I think that's one thing that the quarantine did to everybody was like, we're locked in, we're facing things we've never faced before, and it makes you question all sorts of things. And just even the fact of like community, like how do we stay connected?
Yeah.
We as humans are supposed to be interacting with other humans, and how do you do that when you're supposed to be locked in and keeping others safe? And it starts messing with your mind after a while. And I got 4 kids at home here, and we were going crazy because we couldn't get out and things like that. So yeah, it's this last year has been challenging for sure, but it's really refreshing when people are willing to share their feelings and what they're going through. So I really appreciated that song.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
it really stuck out too, not having all the extra instruments and stuff too. I think it was a great song, great placement on the album and everything too. It's kind of more in the middle and yeah. Do you think through that when you do an album, like as you're putting your songs together, like how it's going to flow from song to song?
I don't think about it in the moment as I'm making the songs, but then once I've created the body of work, that's when I reflect and I look back on it, and I realize that because these songs are so deeply personal and everything that I'm talking about in these songs really did happen to me down to the detailed lyrics, everything is in there. It's like a diary. I realized that I was kind of telling the story of my life the last 2-3 years. And when it came down to building the track list, I set it up so that every song tells the story in chronological order. And that's why you see the story arc of, I'm heartbroken and betrayed, and then my self-esteem starts plummeting and I'm hitting rock bottom and I feel like I'm unlovable. So we're at the middle point of the album. And then I start finding myself again and I'm getting empowered and I'm realizing that I'm actually a really cool person and there's a lot of cool things about me, and people that are in my life do love me, and then I meet someone and then I find happiness. And so it's definitely a cool story arc when you listen to it from top to bottom. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the last track. Well, I guess it's kind of the last track. You have a acoustic version of Obvious, but Hopeless.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Hopeless is very ironic because it has this really pessimistic song title, but it's actually the very first love song I've ever written. Like true love song. I never, for some reason, wanted to write about being in love. And this was the first time. And what I think is cool about this song is that it's me being terrified to fall in love, to get close to somebody again because I've been so hurt. And it's like very detailed, and I'm talking about how I'm trying to fight this feeling and I'm in hardcore denial about it and I don't want anything to do with this, but I know that fighting this feeling and being in denial is completely hopeless because I'm past the point of being in denial. And then what's really beautiful is that by the end of the song, I'm accepting. I'm like, okay, I'm in love with this person. I'm going to give it a chance, even though I've been hurt before, because there's a possibility that the right person is out there for me.
Yeah, that's true love. I think is taking that risk and being vulnerable with another person. And my wife and I just celebrated our 15-year anniversary this year, and it hasn't been all puppies and pancakes, but we go through those seasons of life, and you choose to love. Love is more of a choice than a feeling, and yeah. It's nice to hear another person sharing about their life as well. So I have not had a chance to see you live yet. I think you came through the Twin Cities in Minnesota here a couple years ago. I think you've only been here one time, right?
Um,
When I look back, I think it was November of 2019.
yes, yes, yes.
And I can't remember why I missed the show. I really wanted to go, but something was going on and I couldn't make it. But do you have any plans of touring again? And are you going to get up to the upper Midwest or?
Well, first, I will say that I remember that show being so cold. I don't know how you could do it. Oh my God, that was the coldest I've ever felt.
Well, November is not even bad up here. Wait till January.
That's what I heard. I'm like, oh, this is nothing. I'm dying.
Yep.
In September, I have a couple of festivals in the works. I announced.
Oh, yeah, you're playing in Ohio, right?
Yeah, the Incarceration Festival.
Okay, yep.
I'm so excited for, hoping that it goes through, that it really does happen.
Yeah.
You never know these days anymore.
Right.
And a couple more in September. And then, I mean, the goal is to go on a full tour in 2022, just all over, if all goes according to plan.
Yeah, we're all hoping for shows to start opening up and stuff here. It's been way too long.
Yeah, a year and a half. Crazy.
Yeah, I think the venue that you played at here, it was a fairly small venue, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was my very first headline run. So I was playing like very intimate venues. And it was this place called, I don't think it exists anymore, unfortunately, but it was called the Piggy Bank.
Yeah. I you know what's funny is some of the bands I've seen, you don't realize how big they're going to get. And you think back and you're like, oh man, the first time I saw them, it was at this tiny little venue or whatever. And it's such a special moment, you know, for a fan to say, hey, I saw them at this little tiny bar or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was pretty bummed I had to miss your show, but I hope you can come through here again. And for your sake, I hope you're playing a bigger venue, which I'm sure you would now, because you're gaining more and more fans as time goes on here, and you should be really proud of your work. You're doing well.
Yeah, I always get told from, the people who worked at the venues I was playing at on that run, they'd be like, we saw Hailstorm here when they were first starting out, and then they came back a year later and they packed the place out ×3. So yeah, the stories like that are very inspirational.
Yeah. I'm getting a chance to talk to Miles Kennedy here in a couple of days from Alter Bridge.
Nice.
And I want to tell him the first time I saw them was at this pretty small ballroom. I think there's only a few hundred people there, and it's such a special memory to me because now they're packing arenas and things like that, So, yeah, it's pretty cool when you get to see a band just starting out and hold on to that. Do you have any other things you'd like to share with our listeners or fans?
Just that the album is pretty much here. I'm super proud of it. I filmed some really awesome music videos for this album as well. Yep. I did 3 music videos in 3 days back to back.
Oh, really? Wow.
It was so crazy. But every video is so different from the last one. And I look really different. Like, they're almost mini movies, and they're so cool, and I can't wait for everyone to see them.
Awesome. Well, that's cool. What was it like doing it in 3 days?
Oh, man. I would say each day got progressively more difficult. Just because the level of exhaustion and then what I had to do in the videos was progressively more difficult without giving too much away. Okay.
So when are they going to be released? Can you share that?
The first one is out now. It's the one for Ghost Myself. It's
okay.
The Underground Fight Club child music video. And then I have 2 more coming out after the album is released. Okay.
Well, we will look forward to that. So there you go, Brutal Planet listeners. American Dream drops this Friday. It's an incredible album. I've listened to it many times already. So pick it up, support Diamante. Can fans go to do you have a store or anything right now that they can go pick up some merch and help support you?
Yeah, all you have to do is go to thisisdiamante.com and click on the store tab, and all the social media links are there too.
Awesome. And you're pretty active on social media, so if you want to interact with one of your favorite artists, hop on Instagram or Facebook. And so, well, thank you so much for your time. It was nice meeting you and chatting with you, and I hope to see you on the road in the future.
Yes, thank you so much again. This was awesome.
All right. Thanks, Diamante.